Motherhood, but not quite as we imagine. Thought-provoking, refreshing, straightforward, sometimes taboo, often seemingly ordinary, but always honest. Welcome to School for Mothers, opening conversations we all need to have, exploring ways in which you can be fulfilled as a woman, once a mother. Now here is your host, mother of 10, Danusha Melina Durban.
Hello and welcome back to episode 27 of the School for Mothers podcast. I'm Danusha Melina Durban, your host, and the title for this week's episode is Boss. And my guest today is Vicki Psarias, aka Honest Mum. Now, Vicki set up honestmum.com, a family and lifestyle blog in 2010, while on maternity leave from being a multi-award-winning filmmaker and TV director. 9 years on, her site is one of the most popular blogs worldwide, as Vicki shares her life and work, including all that she's learned about working in the tech space with her followers. And she has many followers. So her debut book, Mumboss, How to Survive and Thrive at Work and at Home, became a bestseller on release in May 2018. And is truly helping to mobilise mums to embrace digital careers around their families. Vicki can also often be seen on national TV too. She's always on. It's fabulous. Truly is a real big delight to have Vicki on the show today, and her drive and passion kind of typifies the spirit of ambitious working mothers. It's no wonder her book has been an incredible success. I'm hoping to get an insight into how Vicki keeps herself replenished in and amongst doing so many things. She is honestly one of the most productive working mothers that I know, certainly in the mum influencer space. Oh, so exciting. I can't wait to hear. Anyway, I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's dive into my conversation with Honest Mum, Vicki Psarias. Vicki, you're one of the most busy women that I know in the kind of parenting and lifestyle blog area. How did you kind of create what you've created with Honest Mum? I'm incredibly impressed with what you've done, what you do.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh gosh, that's a massive question. How did I create what I'm doing now? I mean, I think that I appear a lot busier than I am. That is the truth, because I'm very good at scheduling. So I actually have quite a low-key, not massively stressful workload. I think definitely, yes, I am busy, but it's just very balanced, and it's not always been this way, but it's most definitely been this way probably for the last year or 8 months or so. So that's really positive. I think I've learned how to work smartly. I think when you're building something, it can be a bit frantic. I'm obviously 8 years in now. I'll be 9 this year. So wow. I'm a bit of a grandma of blogging. So, it feels like it's getting back to the beginning for me. So when I started out, I didn't start it thinking it could be a business because nobody knew it could. Mm. And I started it on maternity leave. I was in a very bad place in terms of suffering from a traumatic birth and things. So I think that it was quite slow in the sense that it wasn't like I didn't have deadlines. I just blogged when I wanted. And to some extent, obviously I'm busy work-wise, but it does almost feel like we've gone full circle in the sense that I very much feel in control of my schedule, get lots of downtime. I'm with the kids loads, I'll have like 1 to 2, maybe more days off during the week. And I say off, but I mean, where I'm not on like massive deadlines, where everything's under control. So yeah, I'm just really happy. I hope it continues. I mean, I am a very, very prolific, very quick writer. I always have been. So I think that helps as well. The fact that what might take someone longer. And that's purely because down to just having to have worked that way as a screenwriter in my former career, and also, through journalistic work and things. So I really had to hone that down.
Yeah.
So that also helps because I can publish content quite quickly, and also, like I say, I'm really good at scheduling. So yeah, don't be deceived. It's a bit smoke and mirrors maybe that I'm massively busy.
Well, I love it. And of course what you've just done is demonstrate really rather beautifully why you're called Honest Mum, because there's bloggers and vloggers out there who might create a kind of persona of this groomed, amazing, fabulous lifestyle that's just, everyone's dream. And I really love the fact that even in that question, you're like, oh, no, it's not like that. I really love that. It's really important, isn't it, for us mothers to kind of bust that crap, basically.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you can be clever with, listen, I'm not, and I don't mean this with any ego, like, we are in demand as a business, as a brand.
Yes.
I've grown a business that I am able to say no to about 90% of requests. And that comes with time. It comes with dedication. And it means that I've got a really good balance and I only work with brands that I love. And to be honest, I've always been very strict about that anyway. But it's really lovely to be in this position where it's almost like when I look at my kids and I think, oh, they're becoming like little autonomous, obviously not fully autonomous, but, little people with personalities and strong moral compasses, and they really know what they want. And I almost think that a business is a bit like a baby, and you grow and you nurture it and you learn and it grows with you. But yeah, it's a very normal life. We're very normal. And sometimes we're asked to do extraordinary things, but we're very grateful for those. And I worked for many years in the film and TV industry. So, I've never had any ego whatsoever because I've worked with like massively famous directors and stars. So to me, I'm, I don't consider myself as even anybody particularly well known at all. But secondly, I just want to serve the story and the work and the blog and my audience. And that's always been at the core of everything that I do. And then it's always about creating great things for people to read and honest and powerful and a powerful discourse because when I had a baby, there wasn't a lot of that because there wasn't really, the internet was only just coming into its own. Blogging, people didn't know what a blog was in 2010, I had to explain to people. So if you think that when I felt down, when I felt broken, when I had a traumatic birth, I couldn't really find a lot of other women just like me that were being candid about it. And I used to go to baby groups where everybody was pretending they were okay. Yes. And it was so isolating. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's got to be another way. And gradually, it took time for me to process everything and to write about it. It took years, but I've started this conversation just generally about motherhood. And it happened to be honest because that is something that I am honest. I'm too honest sometimes. So I'm trying to curb that bit in. But I also think that we are desperately looking for those stories in every sector of life, that we want authenticity more than anything because we do want to feel that other people are going through what we're going through. And especially when it's uncertain times or life can sometimes feel quite hard to navigate, no more so when you're a parent, where everything sort of feels like it's been tipped upside down. I think that we need these voices. And I think from a personal perspective, having women say to me, I'm having CBT because you were honest about how it changed your life. There shouldn't ever be a taboo about mental illness, but it's by talking candidly about stuff or talking about grief or saying, this is hard or moving or anything. I've had so many people go, you've given me sort of courage and permission to be me and to want things and it works both ways. And I think that's really interesting. So as I've grown, clearly, other people are relating to the chapters of my life because they're going through it as well. And it's a two-way conversation. So many people help me as well. They give me the strength to keep sharing.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's a very healing process, isn't it? In articulating your story, not only have you given permission to others to, mind for theirs and to see that resonance and mirror, but also you get that space to really process and digest and move through stuff, whatever that is. And so it is a very cathartic process, really cathartic. But I am wondering, you talked about being too honest. Can we be too honest?
In real life sometimes.
In what way?
I'm learning to not always say what I think. So I'm just taking a moment. What does my therapist say? Just, sit back, put your hand on your chest, think. And it's just about that thing where I've almost become quite, just quite good at saying what other people are thinking. But then obviously that's not always the right thing to do in real life, because I think it's especially not so much when it's face to face, because I think you can understand tone and facial expression. I think sometimes the volume of emails I get and messages can sometimes feel a bit overwhelming. And I learned to say no as well, which I think has been a really valuable lesson to me. I'm that kind of person that wants to do everything for everyone and help everybody. And I've realized that it's just not possible, because in doing that, I'm not helping the people that I love as much as I could. Does that make sense?
Oh, so I'm kind of spending
too much time helping X, Y, and Z, and then it's like not leaving any energy for my family, or for example, or whatever. And I've learned very much this year to just have to say, I'm really sorry, I can't do that. Or, being honest and saying that's not for me. And sometimes I do still feel guilty, but the more you practice that, the better you become at that. And that's really given me balance back, just being quite picky about what I share on the blog, who I can help, what I can do. I think that's been quite liberating. And lots of people say that they too have found me talking about that has helped them as well. Because I think as women, we do just want to help everybody, and it's really not possible. So I try and help as many people as I can through sharing on the blog, or through my Honest Mum group where people can join and share their work. But in terms of giving myself to everyone, I've realized that's not possible. But I think we all feel the same, right? I mean, we all have that kind of worry. We're all sort of taking on that pressure of being the carer. And there's this thing, isn't there, called a helper's high, where you you get a lot of joy from helping. And I really genuinely do. And I was a teacher as well in another life. So I love that. But I've had to learn that you honestly, you do have to put self-care in there as well in that mix.
Yeah, so part of the way that you look after yourself and put boundaries in, because I think what we're talking about also
is boundaries.
We have very, very leaky boundaries, females. We're not really taught to have strong boundaries, because of course caring is part of the MO of being a female, as you said. But actually, is it that we've learned that, or is it that we are expected to be caring and it's so awful if we're not caring? That's why we don't say no, because then people, will think, oh my God, what a bitch.
Yeah, exactly. We're very worried about it. It comes back to what will people think of us?
Yeah, because we're taught to care about what people think of us as opposed to what we think of ourselves. We know, listen, I'm going to say no to this because it doesn't serve me, it doesn't serve my purpose, it doesn't serve my family, those who I love, etc. There's too many demands on me. But outside, it can look like, whoa, who does she think she is? Or all sorts of stories we make up. We've all got our own, haven't we? And so it is really quite a radical act to say no.
I know, and it feels really strange, and I think other people can sometimes be taken aback. I noticed a few people were like, wow, oh, okay, like I said no to something just the other day, and it was a media opportunity that just wasn't quite right for me. And you could really sense that person was surprised, but you've just got to say, well, what's right for you? What feels good for you? And sort of stick with it. And the more you do it, it's like writing. It's like anything. It's a muscle to be exercised, isn't it? And suddenly and like you say, men don't seem to have a problem with this. This was hilarious this morning. Okay, let me give this example. My husband's going to hate me for this, but I'm going to say it anyway. See, too honest. He, so one of those stupid calls, those spam calls that ring you and go, hello, have you been in an accident? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I've got some information that you've been in an accident. So Peter had this on speakerphone in his office. So I was listening at home. And so the woman's like, and it is a real woman. So she's like, hello, it's Maureen. I've heard that you've been in an accident recently. How can we help you with that for compensation? And my husband's like, yeah, I've been in an accident. Yeah. And she's like, oh, great, let me just put you through. So it goes through. And then this guy from the call centre's like, hello, I've heard you've been in an accident. Thank you for coming through to us. My husband's like, take my number off your phone and then hang up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Peter, I can't believe you've just done that. Because me, I would never do that. I would be like, yeah, I just hung up on the first bit. But I wouldn't have gone, yeah, I've been in an accident and then told the guy. And it's just like, I was like, yes, I'm going to do that next time. I was a bit sort of, but yeah, as women, we're just worrying too much. We're even worrying about the people spamming us. It's like somebody walked into me with their dog and walked into my child, and I apologised to the walker and the dog. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, we didn't. The dog ran into my child, and we were apologising. And actually, the man was so lovely and said, I'm so sorry. He's, overexcitable. And the dog hurt Alexander. He was crying, and we were apologising.
Well,
this is a situation we're in. And I love animals, so I mean, obviously, if we'd hurt the dog or anything, the dog was absolutely fine. He just barged into it. Was a really big, fat little dog, and barged into Xander, taking him off his feet. And we were there just saying to the owner, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And the owner's like, what are you doing? Like, my dog just ran into your child. Like, I'm the one that should be sorry. So I think a lot of change is needed.
I think you're right. I mean, women are very apologetic for their space, for their voice, for their very being, how they are, in fact. I'll tell you a little tiny story about cold callers. I received a cold call from I think it might have been a phone company or even a domain registration one. I won't mention which one, but it's mothers often know this company because it's the opposite of them. Basically, they called me and said, we you're a customer of ours and we've got offers for you. And I said, well, actually, I'm really busy right now. And I'm in a meeting because for those calls, I'm always in a meeting. So I'm in a meeting. I wonder, could we do this another time? And the guy said, well, when would be convenient? And I said, never.
Oh my God.
Never. And and the guy.
Oh no! You see, I couldn't. I'm scared to say that.
Because
I can't.
It was done nicely, Vicky. I didn't say never.
I know, but I just can't do that. But I need to take your advice, maybe. What did he say to that? Oh, I'm cringing.
No.
What did he say?
No, he burst out laughing, and he said, "That is the best thing I've heard. Thank you for being honest with me." And I said, "You're welcome, but thank you for not calling me again."
Are you laughing though? Did you laugh or not?
No, I said it really nicely. I said, "Oh, well, I think never."
Oh my God. But the thing, Peter today, he was a bit rude in the way that he went, yeah, just take me off your thing. But he didn't, he didn't shout or anything. He just said, take me off your list. And I just thought, yes, that's, but we do need to practice those things, don't we? We need to keep saying no and then you just fill up your days with people that make you super happy, or you get to do things that are great and you get to work on editorial things that you love, and you get to go have lunch with your friends. And I just think that it frees up all this space. Marie Forleo did a really, really interesting video on it where she said, if you could be ringing your mum on a really nice phone call, then say no. If it means more to you than that, well, not that it means more to you, but if you could be doing something that you really want to be doing over it, then you really have to start saying no more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that sort of stuck with me.
It's great advice from Marie. I really like her.
I love her. She's so good, isn't she? Yeah, she's brilliant.
Super. She is super. I just wish she'd have a baby. Could she just have a baby, please?
Oh, no, but we shouldn't wish that on us because, we shouldn't pressurize people, though.
No, I'm not really. I
don't have, she's married to an actor, I think.
Yeah,
a well-known actor.
She's not a personal close friend of mine, but she's in my circle. I'll just say that. And, I saw her, the last time I actually saw her was 2 years ago, and her husband was at the event as well with us. And she's adorable. She's really adorable. Yeah.
She's very sweet. She's very sweet. And she's got that maternal vibe. I mean, I'm not someone that believes, that you have to have kids to be happy, or obviously they're my life. But equally, I very much believe everybody can, be as happy as me without. But I think she has got that maternal vibe. She's very caring and a great businesswoman, built something really inspiring.
She's cool and amazing woman, amazing. Your version of boss in your life, what is it?
Oh, that's interesting. So it's really about, I think it's about choice. It's about having sort of the control to have choice, whether that's what I'm doing with my week, who I'm working with, what I'm saying yes to, where I'm dedicating time. Yeah, I think it's about because I think that women and mothers are given a bit of a short straw, well, a massive short straw when it comes to the workplace. And when it came to setting up the blog, and that later on became sort of a business, I very much felt that I had no real choice, in the sense that I was going back into an industry that wasn't that compatible with motherhood, but I'd worked this hard to become a director and win awards and do etc. Became established, that really I just had to suck it up. You know, I had to get back to work in a job that meant that I could, you know, I'd be paid, but it did also mean I'd have to be away from my child. And that was heartbreaking for some of that time, that I would have to be on set and editing. And it was just really tough because I was in a different city and I didn't feel that there was choice there. So what I did was, and it's completely thanks to the internet being a leveler, being a, a democratic space and being a tool, a creative tool and a business tool, that I was able to create something early on that gained momentum, that built a business, that allowed me to create a personal brand, that gave me freedom. Yeah, and it's given me this, it's almost like how the workforce should be. And I just want to inspire lots of other women to be able to utilize it in the best way for them, so that they don't have to be in a position like I was, where there wasn't really a choice, because I wasn't able to say, do you know what, I'm going to direct this, but I'm only going to work for 2 days a week, or I'm going to shoot now and I'm going to edit in a few weeks. Like, I wasn't in a position where I could do that. Whereas now, you know, I've got that fluidity. I can work from home. Very rarely do I ever miss the school run. You know, I'm there for my kids. We get loads of quality time, and I'm not glued to my phone. Like, I don't need to be, and I'm not. Like, I'm glued to my life. And I think that's a great thing. I honestly think this is such a powerful, enriching way to work, empowering.
It is. And I'm curious about the massive advantage that you had in being an early, pioneer in blogging. I mean, there's no doubt you were one of the forefront, bloggers and established this as a genre in a way. And how would you, there'll be listeners, for instance, listening thinking, well, Vicki, honest mum, you were there 9 years ago nearly. What can I do? How am I going to do this? Because it's a very saturated, well, it could be argued, it's a saturated territory really, isn't it? So what advice would you give?
I mean, I think this is a great time to start, because I and all the other pioneering bloggers have made all the mistakes for you. We know what works, we know what doesn't work. You can be super quick. I mean, my friend Natasha Courtney-Smith, who's written the $1 Million Blog and Stand Out Online, actually says that in her book, in the $1 Million Blog book, because she says, we don't be discouraged to start, essentially. I'm paraphrasing, because we've made the mistakes for you. And that's really at the crux of it. And you can grow very quickly now. And there's lots of options. I would say that the blog is very important. And to quote Natasha again, she says that the blog is the head of the octopus and social of the tentacles. And that's, again, very true. So, but there are people that have created businesses solely on Instagram. But I would say that, and I know for a fact, because I have people emailing me and I can see it with my own eyes, how quickly people are growing and monetizing. When I set up in 2010, a few weeks in, a college, Bradford College, actually emailed me and said, oh, can we advertise with you? And I was like, but what do you mean? I don't even understand how you would. And they're like, well, like a magazine, you write about a course that we tell you about and we'll pay you. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting. And then 6 months later, British Gas were real innovators ahead of the curve, and they got myself and some brilliant bloggers. I met one of my closest blogging friends, Uji from babesabouttown.com. We met there together when we worked with this Olympian, Steve Parry, and we did this big campaign for British Gas where we took our kids to this beach that they'd set up to help children swim. And it was amazing. It was this beach in the middle of London, and they paid us well. And we were like, and I was like, wow, I've just had loads of fun. I'm going to go home. I'm going to write about a campaign that I really believe in, and I'm going to get paid for it. And I've done it with my kids. And that was a turning point. I was like, wow. So it had gone from I started out a blog writing about whatever I wanted, to writing meaningful advertorials and writing whatever I wanted on top of that. I mean, everything felt in line with my values. It was and then it just grew from there, and it became extremely busy. But it doesn't mean that, and this is something I write about in my book, Mumboss, just because I was there early on, you absolutely can start and grow, but you do have to be committed. you do have to go live on your blog twice a week minimum, because that's going to help your visibility on search engines. You should try and create something fairly slick from the off. It's not expensive. You can get a great themed blog. You can invest a little, you do have to invest time. It's like that triangle, isn't it? Where you've got quality, time, and money on each corner of the triangle. You need if you don't have a lot of money, you need a lot of time to create good quality. If you've got money that you can put behind it, you don't need as much time. So do you see what I mean? I think it really all goes back to that. And I think that what is brilliant about maternity leave in particular, and a lot of women that buy my book are on maternity leave, or their kids are about to start school at 4, so they're going to go back into the workplace or start their own blog business. And I interview a lot of women in Mumboss about who have done just that, is that they find those pockets of time, or they're creating and writing a blog with the baby asleep on their chest like I was. Because when Alexander, my second child, came along in 2012, it was basically my full-time job. But I never felt it. I still, it didn't interrupt our time together. It worked flexibly around him. But it's about you needing to try things to find out and work out what excites me, what makes me want to jump out of bed and do something, and then to really commit to that, and also to be patient with it. Most people will be successful if they keep doing it and they don't give up. I mean, it really is. If you read a lot of statistical stuff, it's the same. If you don't, if you get your head down, things will come. And you do need to put yourself out there. You need to go and network. You need to be a bit vulnerable, like I was. And it is a vulnerable act. I don't mean physically vulnerable or unsafe, but I mean like, it is scary to write, to share. I remember even sharing on my personal Facebook and thinking, oh my gosh, my friends, what are they going to think? Are they going to judge me? I'm sharing my life. And don't feel uncomfortable. Write about what makes you happy, but also know that it is quite normal to be scared, and that it doesn't matter how established you are, we're always a bit scared, aren't we? We're always a bit nervous. What if things go wrong? But they don't. You just learn from things, mistakes. I mean, I don't even like that word, because I think it's just a chance to grow and learn. So go for it is really, I would, even if I hadn't started then, I would do it now. But also you've got to think, like, if you love writing, this is such a wonderful way to write and share.
It is. And one of the things I've been talking about, how possible it is to actually rise really fast, or get lots of followers and actually monetize, etc., is Sophie Hinchcliffe. If you look at Mrs. Hinch, I mean, a few months ago, she's gone from being completely unknown to an online sensation, hasn't she? And so there's
and sharing what she's passionate about. Someone else might not be interested in cleaning, but, and she's got a lot of personality. So I think you are your niche, though, because nothing, there's only sort of 9 stories that exist in the world, aren't there? If you look at screenwriting and stuff. So ultimately, it's really the character that brings, and it's your way of seeing the world. So you can have hundreds of people talking about parenting, but actually there's only one you and your take on things, and you might share that, and I'm sure you will share that with many, many people, and the same values and responses and things. But I think that the way that you write, your voice, that's what's really distinctive, and I think that that's important, and there's room for everybody. And you've got to realize that I don't mean you, but just generally, that we're at a time where the media is really changing. So print is not what it was in terms of reach and visibility. Digital is the way we're consuming. Lots of print are moving online. The way that we communicate is, online. And with that comes a lot of room for creativity. And I mean, whether that's people finding the next big thing in artists or getting book deals. I mean, I can't say what it was, but I was approached by a big show in America towards the end of last year, which I auditioned for, and I got quite far along, but it didn't happen. And it was bonkers. And actually, that's just, you're only one phone call away from something huge that can happen. And and if you unravel, how do we get to that point? Or how did I get to a book deal? Or how did I, whatever. And believe me, I definitely feel there's a lot more that I want to achieve. So I don't feel that I'm, by any means super successful. I'm not saying that, but in terms of saying what I want, if you unravel that, you can see that just started from one blog post that took a lot of courage because I felt very down to share welcome to the world, or whatever it was, that first blog post that I wrote sharing I'm starting a blog. And then I had a few blog posts saved up before I went live and just really going for it. Not in a big way, just in quite a small way, just sharing on Facebook. And I remember in my mind's eye exactly who commented. I mean, I can see, but I don't need to see on the blog post, and who commented on Facebook and people. And then 4 weeks in, I was up for this award by Brit Mums when it was a virtual awards. It's gone back to being a virtual awards. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, people actually like my voice. They care about what I've got to say, because I'd had no confidence at that point. I'd lost everything to a traumatic birth. So for me, creating a blog was about building a sense of identity back. And then it became a means of creating an industry, not an industry, a business. And it went from there. So it is a gift. It really is. And there's lots of blog posts that I write that I won't share for whatever reason. But like you said about being cathartic, it really is. Having a big operation last year, took me 5 months to write the post, but I'm really glad that I did. I got an email the other day, actually, a message, Facebook message from someone in New Zealand who's worried about her thyroid, who came across my blog post. And when you think about reach, it's quite extraordinary to think that, 1 to 2 million people a month are reached through the blog online, or more. I mean, more. You could go viral and reach 30 million people. You could, I remember sharing a bikini picture of me and so many people saw that. People off the street were like saying, and bonkers because I was wearing sunglasses, but it resonated because I'd gone, I feel confident to wear a bikini, and yes, I've got tiger stripes and it's fine. And it's just, I don't know, it's really weird. Like, you just share the human condition and what's going on in your life. And that really touches other people.
Exactly, and you've hit it on the nail on the head there, haven't you? It's you share the human condition, and it's rough, it's raw, it's real, it's not prettied up. It's, yes, you look amazing in Lapland, by the way, and all that.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, that must have been an amazing opportunity.
It was a dream for the kids and for us. But everything that we do, we think, for the kids, like my mum said to me, I was very lucky. I had a gorgeous childhood, Enid Blyton childhood. We grew up in a little place called Ilkley. I don't know if you've heard of it. Ilkley, Mumboss, it's very famous, stunning, gorgeous, very idyllic. And my parents worked very hard to give us that. But my mum said to me the other day, the opportunities your children are getting is so wonderful, so nourishing, to think that Oliver was taught to cook by Jamie Oliver. They had a drawing masterclass with Brad Bird, who is the writer and director of Incredibles. Just some of the things, wonderful, nourishing holidays, but they are not spoiled brats. Anybody who meets my children, they're so humble, they're so loving, they're so caring, they're such good kids. Because for me, and I'm very clear about why we're getting to do lovely things. And also they're part of my job, which I think is very empowering. I know there's a lot of debate around that, but, Oliver just shot a video the other day for a client with me where he's sort of cooking, and it's remarkable to see his confidence and to see how much he's grown. And, I will pay him a little bit of money for that so that he feels that he's doing a job as well and that he's earning. And I really feel that I've created kind of quite strong, resilient children through this, and they've grown in confidence, and they're never forced to do anything. If they don't want to do it, we don't do it. So I think that's very important. But I also think my teaching background has really helped me when it comes to motherhood. I used to teach and I was a lecturer as well. So I think that's really helped me, because I've taught in, very socially deprived areas and also some very affluent areas, and children with such varying needs. And I think that was a real eye-opener to be teaching at sort of a young age, and then to it's helped me a lot in how to sort of raise these kids, and I mess up loads as well, but it's made me kind of so empathetic as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard being a kid. It is really hard.
It is hard being a kid. And what I can hear you doing is really pulling together all the kind of strings on your bow. You know, you've got all these various talents and various, you know, experiences in terms of your career, and you've been able to bring them all to bear into a lifestyle that it really suits you and enables you to raise your sons in the way that you want to. Which brings me to the boys, because, you know, it's pretty hard to be a boy, isn't it? It's really hard to be male right now. Really hard.
It is hard. And I think that boys are underestimated a lot as well. And I hate these things about boys will be boys, and, you know, and all these contradictory messages that boys get. And I just want my children to feel, you know, worthy and equal and empowered, and, you know, and that they can, I don't want them to feel less than. And I think often boys are sort of diminished a lot, as are girls. And I think that it's a dual problem, and it's something that I want to tackle, and, you know, and something that I'm doing every day. And you know, I always from a very young age wanted them to feel they could play with any toys and wear any colours, and that kind of social conditioning starts so young. And I've been very clear about that. And I've got a feminist mum, and I remember my mum saying ever since I was a baby, you know, she never dressed me in pink. She was never a fan of pink. It was always yellow, or it was other colours, and she brought me up to be a real feminist. I remember her giving me a badge at 2 that said "Women together are strong." So, you know, I'm bringing up feminist sons as well. And it's very important. And it's very important to know about, you know, mutual respect. But yeah, it is a tough time at the moment, but I don't feel that they're aware of that being a tough time. They're just, I'm just allowing them to feel that they've got a place. Like Alexander's can be quite shy at school. And I'm sort of trying to draw out his confidence more at home. He's really confident. He was off school for a while last year with some health problems, but he's fine now. And that's just dented his confidence. And we moved schools recently, and they're being really great at supporting him. And for me, it's just really about the individual. It's not about gender. I believe that kids are characters. Yes, there's certain things in terms of, they say as the hormones kick in, testosterone, that boys might need a bit more support or whatever. But I mean, when I look at my own childhood, what my mum tells me, I was very energetic, very sporty, very outgoing. My brother was always a lot quieter. And I do think there's quite a lot that is also just inherently down to the personality of the child as opposed to the gender.
Yeah, one of the funny things that I find as a parent is that when we are a woman who's particularly articulate or verbally adept, as in gobby, you know, because that's what happens, isn't it? We can be labelled as gobby, bolshy, diva,
bossy. Hate bossy. Men are never bossy. It's attributed to women only.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely gendered, derogative term. To be bossy it's not positive, really isn't positive for us. And it's something that I've been because I've got boys and girls. And so I really noticed the difference in way that an articulate boy is perceived and an articulate girl. And so just coming up to kind of counter this with Serafina, who's one of my 6-year-old triplets.
Her name.
Oh, thanks, Vicki. Yeah, she's the triplets are called Montgomery, Serafina, and Horatio. So they've all got big names. And Serafina is, I mean, really, I guess the phrase "gift of the gab" would be really fitting for her. And so to counter that idea that she's bossy and, you know, diva-y, what we've done is I've been really thinking about how can I really encourage her to be more vocal, to have more voice instead of being closed down. And basically, she's about to start her own podcast.
Oh, I love that. That's so
I know.
Cool.
Yeah, so because, I mean, I've got the infrastructure obviously, because we've got the team producing this.
That's going to be amazing. It's your mum and daughter podcast.
I know, but also she often sits in the room very quietly when I'm podcasting, when I'm recording. And so I actually thought, well, and she said to me, why can't I have my own podcast? And I didn't have an answer for that. I just didn't have one. It's like, well, because you're only 6. That doesn't really wash. So hers is starting very soon, and it's called Serafina Speaks, Little Girl, Big Ideas.
Love this idea.
So so I think each in our own ways we have to think about, don't we, of how can we bring, like you just said about Alexander, like how can you bring him, to be at school or out of the home a little more confident, a little bit, in the way that is aligned with him. And so that's what we do with each child, isn't it? Trying to bring their talents, bring their confidence up more than anything. Because I don't want hers knocked by people saying, oh, you're just gobby, when she's not.
And also it's about utilising, if someone's very talkative and very expressive, it's about saying, join the debating society, or do a podcast, or start writing, or be inventive, or draw, or do sport, or channel your energy in a really positive way, because kids have pressures as well. And it's very important to practice mindfulness, and with your children, there's some great exercises as well, and to talk to them and to process their stuff and really talk to them with respect. I remember feeling that I wasn't heard by the school that I was at. I went to a very strict private school as a child, and I just felt sort of, that I wasn't important, that my voice wasn't important, and it was very hard. And I think that I just don't want my kids to ever feel that way. So every generation tries to improve, don't we? We try and, where we disappointed, or we try and ensure that we don't do that for our kids. I think there's so many creative tools. I used to beg my dad to hire VHS cameras so that I could film, and they were really expensive. So it only happened a few times a year, birthdays, Christmas. And we used to rent them from the video shop. And I used to make these videos, and I was filmmaking from such a young age. And my parents did quite a bit of TV when I was younger. So I remember going on set with them and stuff. And it was just, I was so fascinated by that. So I think it's about exposure, like your daughter seeing you and knowing that there's these things that are possible, in the same way that I did when my parents were like cooking on TV or whatever. But then also it's about actually giving them the means, and it's easier now than ever because it's inexpensive really for them to create content, and even whether you publish that or not, but to actually create it.
Yeah.
A really exciting time to be a kid, but it's also, we've got to be careful as well in terms of, I know that he's got a similar personality to me. He gets really into things quite easily. So it's about me saying, look, you can do this, you can create this, or you can play a game, but I manage his time so that it remains productive, rather than becoming something that he's really leans on and then can't sleep at night, for example. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
do. We're all, in the same way that we're learning balance, we're also, because listen, this is the first generation that has got online. Like we're the guinea pigs, aren't we?
Yes.
So we're the ones that have to go, this is brilliant and it's a brave new world, but how do we actually make it work in the real world?
Yeah, how do we make it work positively rather than have it detract from our our social interaction, our relationship building, our sense of ourselves, so that we don't get taken down by it? Because comparison, for instance, is actually in my upcoming book I have a great chapter on comparison, because I think it's obviously a human activity. You can't stop comparing, but how to use comparison to evolve and grow rather than take yourself down. I know Instagram sometimes, I'm like,
I can feel it can feel stifling, Instagram at times. Like I do like it, but I don't spend hours and hours on there. But because I think it's just because you're saturated on there with things, whereas your timeline is more curated elsewhere. I absolutely love Pinterest. I feel that is a public domain that feels private, that feels intimate. So for me, I mean, I get about 1 million unique views on Pinterest, and I get a huge traffic driver to my posts from Pinterest as well. It's probably my second biggest referrer after sort of SEO and search engines, because that should always be like your first referral. And that's come from a love of Pinterest. Yes, I schedule via Tailwind my posts and archive posts, but my absolute love of it, just I feel that they've just got it really right there. But like I say, Instagram's great. There's a lot of pros to it, but I think you do have to be careful that you don't fall down a rabbit hole. And then, and it's a bit addictive, isn't it? It's that thing of you're feeling a bit bad, so you know what will trigger you to feel even worse. It's sort of, do you know what I mean? It's like this, it's like I've got a spot on my forehead at the moment, and oh my gosh, right, it wasn't even big. And then there's nothing there, as in like, there's nothing underneath to squeeze it. Yeah, I've squeezed, and it's huge now. To the point where, like, I took a picture yesterday with a friend, and all you can see is this thing on my head that's like a second head. It's horrific. But I mean, and actually I did this trick, which I'll tell you, which has helped a little bit, but I can still feel it's really annoying. But I've put like garlic juice, sounds rank, and cider vinegar, which has actually it's reduced it. So it's now just the size of an eyeball as opposed to another head. But it's still big, but it's a bit like that Instagram. Sometimes you just won't stop squeezing. You won't stop pushing. And you can very easily make a bad day a shit day, I think, over that. Whereas you don't feel it as severely on Facebook, I don't think. I mean, I love Twitter. I think it's a great way to connect with brilliant authors. It's wonderful if you're a writer because it trains you to be very concise at writing. I think from a perspective of reaching and connecting with press, it's a very valuable platform. It's the journalist's choice and TV exec's choice. A lot of telly opportunities and press opportunities have come directly from Twitter. For me, you can look at hashtags like Ask a Journo, or sorry, I don't know if that's the right one, but Journo request, things like that. So I think that it's really, but also it's a pleasure. I remember when I first joined, started a blog, and I joined Twitter. And I will never forget how breastfeeding in the middle of the night, I logged onto Twitter and I connected with other women that were also breastfeeding in the middle of the night, and we all felt alone. And suddenly we had a virtual space in the dark, awake, to connect with our little phone. I remember it was tucked under the covers so it didn't wake, my kid wasn't disturbed. And it was just, I remember thinking, this is magical, because I've gone from someone who didn't feel I had, because none of my friends had babies when I did. I was the first. I was 27 when I was pregnant. And as a director, I was absolutely regarded as very young because there were so few filmmakers. So I did feel quite isolated. I had one or two friends, but I didn't have this big support, and it takes a village. It takes a village to raise a mum. It takes a village to raise a Mumboss. It's that thing of, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I'm onto something here. Not as from an entrepreneurial view, but from an emotional lifeline view of oh my gosh, I can talk to people that get it. Because suddenly you find this like-minded audience. And that's what happens. The beauty of blogging and vlogging is that when you write about things, a like-minded audience naturally finds you, because that's how SEO works. So really, you should feel reassured that everything is on your side pretty much. Now, let's not beat around the bush in the sense that, or fool ourselves. Social platforms are a business, and particularly Facebook and Instagram want your money. They want you to pay. Organic reach is getting harder and harder, and it will continue that way. So yes, they're a business, but there are still ways that, and especially with your blog, you can connect very easily with people, and you can have overnight success. I know people that shared stuff that went viral, and they woke up the next day and they had a business. So you're only sort of one post away from something that can break the internet.
Now listen, you and I could talk forever. We've got so much.
It's been a joy. No, I've loved it. It's such an honour. Thank you so much.
Loved it too, darling. And I know that both of us have got to get kids from school.
Oh, we do. This is a Mumboss life, right? We have to abandon the podcast now at quarter to 2. No, but I've absolutely loved it, and I love what you do and what you stand for, and I think we need more of these conversations, and we need women that are very proud of what they're doing and speaking up, because without that, we don't have role models. Like my role models were, Marie Forleo, Oprah, American bloggers. that I could look up to, but we've got to take that responsibility. And I know people sort of shy away from that a bit. Maybe I'm a bit American in that respect, but I'm sort of very much like, let's champion and let's have honest conversations about the ups and the downs. Let's talk about money. Let's talk about things that men don't have any problem talking about, so that we can learn from one another, so that we can rise up together. And I think that's what you're about, it's what I'm about. And no, it's been wonderful. So
Thanks,
thank
darling.
you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Okay, loads of love.
All right, love.
Bye.
No worries. Thank you, sweetie, and stay in touch. Bye-bye. See you. Bye-bye.
Oh, I love Vicki. Our conversation was such a pleasure. She reminded me by her sheer power of words of that much-cited statistic that us women utter an average of 20,000 words a day, whereas men will speak an average of only 7,000. I'd love that to be true, except, of course, more recent studies show there's hardly any difference between the amount of words used by women and men. But Vicki is so fab. She's like this torrent of inspiration and thoughts and feelings and, well, just wisdom, just solid gold wisdom. It's truly clear that she works ever so hard to kind of maintain boundaries between her work and her family life. Something I work hard on too, that's for sure. I've no doubt Vicki's words will resonate with ambitious mothers. I really hope they've landed for you. I'd love to hear your thoughts over on Instagram, particularly. You can find us over at school.for.mothers. That's at school.for.mothers. Join us next week when I'm going to be speaking with Kirsten Stendervad as we discuss the power of the feminine in our episode called Source. Now, Kirsten's own journey has called on her to draw on the deep well of feminine strength and energy. I can't wait to explore this with Kirsten next week. I hope you come and join me. I really do. It'd be at the same time, same place. Meet me here. Thank you for joining us again. Have a super week.
Thank you for tuning in to the School for Mothers podcast. To continue the conversation and keep your dose of inspiration up, head over to schoolformothers.com/podcast, where you'll find bonus content from Danusha and her guests on habits, recommendations, books, best apps, time-saving secrets, life hacks, health, sleep and anything in between. That's schoolformothers.com/podcast.